Hello there, Ray here. And what I have behind me is a bunch of testing that we did during our stream, and a bunch of wonkiness that we discovered as well to do with 1.14 snapshots that we'd like to share with you guys. This first one here is extremely funny. As you can see, this pillager's arms are just going in circles. This one was discovered by Excelior. He was trying to summon in a beast with a pillager on top, and he ended up coming out with this. And this pillager doesn't have a weapon. He normally would have a crossbow. So I guess since he doesn't have that, he's not sure where to put his arms. So he just completely has them going in circles, which is insane. And when I was trying to summon in, when I accidentally put the Vindicator on the bottom and had the beast riding him, so it looks so crazy having this Vindicator carry this beast around for him. So next one is this falling entity of a scaffolding block that is glitched out. So if scaffolding is placed in an area where it's not supported, it will turn into a falling entity, as you see, and then it'll just fall down to the ground, and then it will just stand there as support. But here in this case, it is sitting on top of a block, and this block is causing it to turn into a block, then turn back into an entity, and keep doing this really fast. And this was shown to me by CivicKitty. He was trying to make a mod that would allow him to extend the scaffolding out farther than 4 blocks, and he came across this weird behavior. And what is going on here is it seems that the game can't properly support the scaffolding on this type of block. And the blocks that have this behavior are any blocks that have a collision that is at 1 meter high but doesn't have a full cube surface. So blocks like stair, hoppers, here we have bamboo, here's cauldron, like panes and other things like that, even like trapdoors and doors themselves and anvils, even piston heads all have this property. And you can see that it is an entity at some points, and you can stand on it because it's a block it sometimes too, but since it sometimes turns into entity, it's possible for you to fall through it once in a while. It has some other strange property, as you can stack some more of the scaffolding on top of it, and these are all entities, as here you can see their hitboxes coming off of them. And also, at times you can place scaffolding off to the side of them, but what it does is it'll try to place it up against the block form of it. Once it turns into entity, it'll break off. And another strange property is that once this structure is being supported by a different scaffolding, so if I put a scaffolding block here, this one's going to support this one, and it's going to continue supporting all the rest, like this. See, this stops jittering now. Now these are all blocks, not entities. Now when you break this one, and it goes back to be supporting on top of like this piston head here, it will cause them all to break. Let's watch that. Although the player can fall through it once in a while, it's kind of random. It's kind of strange, but other entities are not able to fall through it. So if I would like throw some items on top of it, they won't clip through it, but they may visually clip through it, but the item itself won't actually go through it, which is very strange. Also, entities won't go through it. You can see that popped back here at the top. And mobs don't seem to go through it either. The scaffolding block switching to a block and back to entity causes block updates, which can be detected by observers. So over here we have an observer that is reading the outcome of this block back here, and it's sending signals into this, and this is to the counter that's on the side. This is number 1. And then this one over here is just an observer clock. And depending on how you start this observer up, you can actually get this type of clock to put in more inputs than this one over here. So in some cases it's faster than observer clock, but we also had it be the exact same speed of the observer clock. But it's probably not consistent enough to use. This next one here, as you can see, is floating scaffolding. There's no blocks underneath here. And it actually works. I can go inside of here, I can stand, and I can hop up. And I can not hop down though. That is because these are actually ghost blocks. So I made all these ghost block scaffolding by placing down scaffolding very quickly on some very strange blocks. So it's a bit odd, but scaffolding is actually able to be placed above some blocks, which you would think that would not support it. So like this path block will not support scaffolding, but it still can be placed above there as an entity. So if I click here, it will turn into a block and then into entity and fall downwards and then break. You can see there again. Now what I did is I placed down the scaffolding extremely fast on top of this, and I used a macro to do that. And what is happening here is that the first scaffolding is placed down, and then when you click again, it's placed another one on top of that one. And by placing a whole bunch, the game thinks that some of them actually do make it into the game, client side at least, and it makes all these ghost blocks of scaffolding. And these are kind of cool because you can actually come up here and have floating scaffolding, but also you can actually jump down and go into different layers from the scaffolding, but you cannot go, like, can't shift to go downwards because the game doesn't really recognize the scaffolding below you as being like a scaffolding block, but you can always climb upwards, which is kind of weird. So you can see normally sand, if placed above blocks that cannot support it, would just sit up there and it wouldn't fall downwards, but when scaffolding you place above it, it turns into entity and falls downwards and then it breaks. The next one I'd like to show you is just an odd behavior that seems to be consistent no matter what type of falling block entity. And that is to do with snow layers. So I place down some snow layers, and then if I place down scaffolding, it will be placed above it, but then when it lands on it, it'll act very similar to that of like a fence gate or like a fence, any block that is slightly higher than one block. So like a gate can hold up sand as an entity, and so can like a wall here. And even shulker boxes has behavior when they're open up. They're a little bit taller than a normal block, and they have that collision box, so you can also place something like a falling block, and then you can see it can sit on top of it and has the ability to sit up there. Once you close it, it will go down and it will connect to it, which is kind of cool. Then you can still open up the shulker box because the scaffolding itself doesn't have any collision box, just like you can't collide with it. Also, the shulker box cannot collide with it, so you can open up the lid, which is pretty cool. But I'm unsure why the snow layers have the same property where you can place it down and then place like snow above it, and it'll turn into a block and then turn into entity shortly after and just sits there. And also you can place like the scaffolding above a cobweb, and then it will turn into entity and just slowly fall through the cobweb. And it won't break off until it reaches all the way to the bottom and sees that it cannot occupy the same block as the cobweb. The next one I'd like to show you is odd behavior to do with scaffolding as well as the stonecutter block. Both these blocks have this property where you can place stuff like levers and redstone torches on the side of them as well as above them. You even place the ladders on them, which is a bit strange. And ladders can be placed on this one too, and from the inside you can actually come up against them. Also, since the scaffolding itself doesn't have any collision, you can go inside of it and you can bump up against the ladder too. And scaffolding themselves kind of have a ladder property where you can push up against the side and you can also climb them. So if you just have blocks like this, and then you'd have scaffolding like this, and you just press forward, you don't have to hit the jump key or anything, you just press forward, it'll give you that ladder property where you can just slide right up on top of them. Now this is very similar to like the turtle eggs when they first came out. They also has property where you could stick stuff up against them, and I tweeted out a picture of a bunch of ladders around it making it look like a bird cage, but they eventually change it. So they might change this as well as these blocks, kind of look odd with the torch kind of floating right here in the center, and you can also like tripwires on it as well. Another thing I noticed in the snapshot is that the doors textures, how they changed, and it's no longer consistent with the items. As you can see here is the item of the acacia door. It has a little slit at the very bottom and then a big slit at the top. And they still got that slit at the top, but they don't have that slit at the bottom anymore. So they're probably going to have to retexture the items to match the block. Another cool thing I found when we were looking at villages is we came across this village here, and this one has some different water lakes that are generated in it. And this water lake here, as you can see, generated and took out part of the door. So there's actually a half wooden door here. I've never seen a half wooden door come out of a village from water damaging it. Usually it will cut part of the side up, but I've never seen it do this before. And of course there's some dirt in there with some grass as well. This is quite strange. You do see half doors in like strongholds, but I've never seen it in a village like this. It might have to do something with the generation changing, or maybe I just never noticed it before. You guys also pointed out that when we were reviewing these new blocks that came out, that you can look inside them even though they haven't introduced their real function yet. So if I go into spectator mode and then I right click on them, you can see it says furnace and there's currently like no slots that are showing for it, but you can see my inventory there as well. And you can do the same thing for like this one. This is, I believe that's a smoker, and it also says furnace and they don't show any inventory. If you go to the barrel, you can see all the slots inside of it, and you can see it also says barrel. If you hook hoppers up to them and look inside, you notice that it doesn't show anything here, but these two slots of inventory now got replaced, and these are currently the ones that are being used to demonstrate what is going inside of the furnace. So this furnace here just ran out of some fuel, or ran out of some stuff to cook, so let's put in some more sea pickles, and you can see that the sea pickles are showing up here, and now it looks like it needs some more fuel, so if we put fuel into the back here, you'll see that the fuel shows up in this slot here. And same goes for like the blast furnace over here. You can see what's inside of it currently. You can even see what the outcome is. Got some lime dye there. And the barrel itself has its inventory up here. Now there is some strange behavior. If you would go into here and then you would try to like rearrange some of the stuff and you come out, it can actually change your own inventory. So you notice how my inventory now has what was in there, but now it's in my own inventory. See how the stuff over here Notice how there's an armor stand here? Now if I go into here and you can see this inventory is placed over here, another inventory is placed right here, here's another inventory right here, and notice how the armor stand just vanished now? Now if I go back into my real inventory, notice how the armor stand got pushed off the edge? It is slowly taking away everything that's going inside my inventory. So let's go back inside of it again and look again. You can see that it is, yeah, indeed, it's pushing everything over. And now I currently have a map in my far out right hand. But everything that gets moved over is just visually. So I'm actually holding a map here in my hand, but what I'm really holding is actually a barrel. So if I click down, you can see there is a barrel there. And the weird thing is, if you click in your inventory, it doesn't actually go away. So the actual item gets placed there, which is kind of strange. So like this stuff doesn't go away. It's actually really there. So it's pretty much glitched out right now. Another funny thing, it has to do with the banners that you get off of the illagers. And this is comes off of the patrol leader. I'll give you this one. It has gold lettering, and each of the things inside Minecraft kind of has a different color to go with a different symbol. So over here I made an example. The guys on stream helped me come up with this list. So something like normal items comes up with the white text. Something that is uncommon comes up with the yellow text, such as like the dragon eggs. Something that's rare comes up with like the light blue text, which is like the ender crystal. Something that's very rare comes up with the pink text, such as your dragon eggs, since there's only one of them. And I guess the next thing is the stuff that's like ultra rare comes up with the gold text, maybe. This is just kind of an idea that we had. And I think it's kind of a cool way of illustrating it with the different types of colors and maybe how rare it is in the game. What do you guys think about this? But the banner itself is actually quite rare because you cannot actually make these in survival, as Civet Kitty pointed out. These consist of having 7 different layers, even though they only show 6 of them here. He says they have 7 different layers of things that you apply to it, and in survival they only allow you to go up to 6. So essentially, if you're going to make this banner, you can end up making the whole thing, except you can't come in here and put in this little extra dot to remove the lines that come across here. So it's not possible to replicate this without actually going to the Illager patrols and killing the leader to get one of these. And Denbone made a remark about this on Twitter, saying he didn't do this on purpose, so it was probably a mistake, but they're going to leave it in the game. Now you also can take the banners and put them into shields, so you end up having a shield that cannot be typically made in survival. And the shield looks similar to it, but not exactly. The eyes are a little bit dull looking, but it looks kind of cool. And I would think if you have one of these banners, go ahead and make a shield out of it. It's a good way of showing it off. Although you cannot move the scaffolding with pistons and stuff, and you can't really move the blocks underneath them too well, you can go ahead and pulse this piston with a single game tick, and this will allow the block here to move into this location, and it won't update the scaffolding. So all I do is to update this piston, and this is just a really simple one game producing pulse. The way this works is that there's a piston here, another one here, and this one is being butted by this block up here. And this one is butting this piston over here. And what's going to happen is when you update this piston, it's going to see that's butted, it's going to move forward. Then this piston also you're going to see that he's being butted from the block up here. And then he's going to move the block away all in the exact same tick. This will allow it so that this piston will lose its power immediately after, allowing him to so-called zero tick the block forward into this position. So if I place a block here, update it, you can see that it moves the block over here and the scaffolding does not break. Mobs can climb up scaffolding if they try to path find, such through a corner here, and in case they're going to try to walk up against this wall, and then the ladder effect of the scaffolding is going to allow them to climb it. So here you can see a zombie climbing up it, and what I did is just have him put inside here, and he's trying to chase after his villagers, so he decided to try to walk up against it. Here you can see him going as well. He's trying to pathfind to this corner, so they can climb up it and use the ladder effect similar to them being like inside of a ladder. Wonkiness with a 1.14 snapshot. Tell me what you guys think about this down in the comments, and if you guys found this interesting, show me the like and share this with others. And be sure if you haven't already subscribed, go ahead and do that. Bye bye!